Hey guys, and welcome to today's little tutorial. So we've been starting to talk about multi-tenancy in Kubeflow, and I wanted to first start off by talking about users and how to add them. And if you're confused with what I mean by multi-tenancy, watch my last one. We are currently talking about a team-based multi-tenancy, where really there are two types of multi-tenancy. One where you are providing it as a service, so software as a service, think AWS, or whether you're providing it to a team or internal multi-tenancy. We're going to be talking about internal multi-tenancy, not external or software as a service multi-tenancy. So the very first thing, to keep these videos short, I'm going to be doing them a little bit faster, covering a little bit smaller scope. So the first thing we're going to cover is users.
3, 2, 1, 0.
The No channel.
So in Kubeflow uses DEX. A lot of places use DEX in Kubernetes. And what is DEX? DEX is a federated OpenID Connect provider. What does that mean? Well, it means maybe I should do a video on DEX itself, but at a very high level, it uses connectors to connect to pretty much whatever OpenID provider you have, whether it's LDAP or GitHub or Google or Active Directory, all of those will work. The other thing DEX does provide is something I call static users. So for the most part, DEX isn't a true provider, as it it's not really a true provider in and of itself, but you can use it that way. And we're going to use it that way today, so I don't have to stand up a provider somewhere else. Although that would actually be a really good video somewhere down the line. All right, so we're going to do adding a user to Kubeflow. I have prepared one file for us. Let's go ahead and check that out. All right, and let's actually change this to something a little bit more specific. We're going to change this to test@company.com. That's fine. And the name to test to match. All right, so this is a Kubeflow profile. It's pretty simple. If you have Kubeflow installed, it's installed this. This is a CRD, a custom resource definition, and you see that it's a Kubeflow v1 beta 1, and the kind is of type profile. All right, in here it's really easy. We have the user, the kind, which is user, and here is the name, which we use as an email. And here's a resource quota. We don't really want this here, so let's go ahead and delete all of this. All right, so this is all we have to have, and let's go ahead, save this, and we can deploy it. So apply-f kubeflow profile.yaml. All right, so that was created. Kubeflow is actually going to do some stuff with that. So if we wanted to go ahead and check this out, we can do get profile. And we can see that we now have a test profile that is 14 seconds old. The other thing that you can see here is that if you check out the namespaces, and if you're reading Kubeflow documentation and get a little confused, they interchange profile and namespace all the time. It's quite confusing, even for me. They're the same thing. They're referring to the same thing. A profile relates to a namespace. So now you can see we have a new namespace, and this is for this new profile that we created. We don't have a test@company.com currently. Let's fix that. All right, so we want to add a static user. The easiest way to do this would be to use Kubernetes itself and go ahead and get the DEX config map. So we can do that with K is short for kubectl again. K get config map. So this is going to be config map for dex, and that's in the namespace auth. And we're going to do an output of YAML, and we're going to output that into a file called dex.yaml. All right, so now we have this. Let's go ahead and open it up. All right, then you're going to see all of this stuff in here. The big thing that you're going to want to look for here is this right here. This config.yaml is where it stores all of the information that you're wanting. Now, this is kind of hard to edit this way. As you can see, this would not be easy to add something to. You have to use the new line, and let's not do that. So the easier way to do it, instead of doing that, is to do it like this. K get config map dex namespace auth o is to use something called Json Path. Now, Json Path is another whole video in itself. Maybe I should make a series. If you want it, let me know. But we're going to use Json Path, and we're going to say equals the data config dot slash dot YAML. The slash is required in there because this is a notation of Json Path, so we have to escape the dot. Dot YAML, and we're going to get that file that is YAML, and we're going to put this in dex YAML dot YAML. All right, so basically we're just going to get that section out that was in there. That's a YAML file. We're getting this YAML file out of the YAML file because there's an embedded YAML file. All right. All right, so it did not like that for some reason. Let's see, K get config map dex in auth o Json Path. Oh, well, I misspelled Json Path. I always want to put an A in there. Yeah, anyways. I did everything correct, ish, except spelling, which is not my strong suit. All right, so now we have this dex YAML here, and this is going to be so much easier. This is the file we wanted to edit. And here you can actually see I've already added test@company.com and this password. Now, this password is a password hash. If you don't understand what that means, leave me a comment down below asking me to explain password hashes. But if you're wanting to make one, there's a bcrypt. You can also make it on your command line quite easily. Maybe that's a great little video. But here we're going to create pass1234, and it bcrypts to this. Perfect. Now, I would not use bcrypt for a real password, and one of the reasons is, or I would use bcrypt, but not this website, because they kind of post what other people have searched for. So really you could have a scraper and use all of these in some brute force method. I don't know. Makes me a little uncomfortable that they do that. All right, so we've added this user. We can write this file, and now we need to update the server. But if you remember, the actual config map that's out there, I always put a dash in here for some reason. The actual file that we edited is just this file here. That's a file embedded inside of one. So to update that, you're gonna have to type out a little bit more. All right, so we're going to do this now. Okay, create config map dex from file equals config.yaml equals dex YAML.yaml. I'm terrible. .yaml in auth dry run equals client and o YAML pipe that to kubectl apply -f dash. All right, so basically what you're doing is running this as a dry run. So you're creating a config map from this, and you're going to then apply it as an update. So let's run it. There we go. And it did what we wanted. All right, so if you don't understand what this is, leave me a comment. I've actually been thinking about creating a course for you guys about kubectl would be one course, just how to use kubectl quickly and efficiently. But I also have some like Kubernetes architecture courses. I just don't know if people would be interested enough in making those. One last thing, since now we have configured Dex, you're going to need to restart Dex because Dex actually only loads that static config on startup. So you can just go ahead and run a rollout restart of the Dex deployment and you're good. Now, it has automatically, I've already logged in as the admin user. And if you don't know how to log out of Kubeflow, there is no button to log out, which is kind of confusing. So if you're wanting to log out, like I am, just type in log out. And the path exists there. They just don't have a button to make it convenient. Not that I know of, at least. Maybe I should add one. I might do that. All right, so I don't want to log in as admin. I want to log in at test@company.com. And our password is pass1234. Oh, this is test at company.com, and our password is pass1234. Here we go. This is adding a user in Kubeflow. We have our own user, and look, we have our own namespace. Now, as this all relates to multi-tenancy, as you will notice, we only have access to ours. You don't have access to the Bob's namespace. Let's go add Bob to our namespace. So let's say Bob's is one of our best friends and we want to go add him as a contributor. We can click manage contributor. This is my personal test namespace. And we're gonna add admin at kubeflow.org, the admins for this cluster. And we're gonna go ahead and hit enter. There we go. Now they are a contributor. So let's go ahead and log out again. So I'm gonna switch over here. We're gonna log out again. And we're gonna log in as the Kubeflow admin. Now you can see this is our namespace, but now we also have a test namespace. So we can work with our favorite test person. So this is the basics for how to add a user in Kubeflow. And not only that, how to start sharing your workspaces with colleagues so that you can work on it. Now, there is a plethora of other things to dig into with this, and we can go over them. But the one thing I wanted to share is Kubeflow's documentation actually has a really great graphic. It's this one right here. And this is basically how authentication and how they secure and make sure people only access the things that they're supposed to access. And if you notice here, both the Istio gateway and the Kubernetes API use their RBAC to allow or deny, so whether they can see the other person's namespace. So Kubeflow at its very basis is using Kubernetes namespaces for their multi-tenancy. And this is why I brought up the whole different styles of multi-tenancy, because Kubernetes namespaces isn't a SaaS solution, a software as a solution, or an external multi-tenancy. It doesn't support it, and there's a lot of reasons why we can go into it. It is only in-team multi-tenancy. But it's a quite powerful in-team multi-tenancy and does a very good job. So this is a very high level. Please leave comments down below, and those comments will kind of guide me with where I dig into next for your guys' multi-tenancy. What type of questions are you asking, and what made sense, what doesn't make sense, and really what problems you're looking into. And I'll make my next Kubeflow multi-tenancy based off of that. Do you guys want to dig into architecture and how this works in Kubernetes? Do you want to look into next steps? Do you want to look into maybe how to manage these at a high level? let me know. All right. That's it for me today. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this, and I hope that you learned something. Let me know, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you liked about this. This is kind of a little bit of a new format for me, and hopefully it works really well for you guys. And I hope that you guys have a fantastic week. I hope this was a educational video. Maybe you had some fun. Maybe you even learned something. And I will see you guys next time for another video. Of course, for another video. It's not like I have an Instagram account.